Yo, what is up, guys? Welcome to the second video, Ryan's Python review. The first review, it was about if statements, and in this video, we're just gonna go around the basics of what Python is, and like just some background information. So, let's get to it. Alright, guys. So, first, we're gonna be talking about the applications of Python. There are many different applications, but these are the 5 I included for today's video. The first one is called integration into web design. Python was initially designed to be a web design language, but at that time when it was made, Java was mostly the most popular thing. But over time, Python has become more popular over different web developers thanks to like many different frameworks like the Django and Tornado. Python is used and is as popular as JavaScript for scripting for Google, Netflix, and Facebook. Alright, guys. So next is Linux and management of databases. In Python, there has been a lot of different databases that you can get from online or anywhere, and Linux is an operating system that can go hand in hand with Python, and it is very efficient in serving web design and all that. Alright, guys. Next, we're going to talk about machine learning and AI. And in machine learning, Python gives access to a whole lot of third-party libraries that are all about implementing machine learning algorithms. Libraries are a collection of pre-written code that optimizes code and task. For example, there's a thing called Python Docs, which is an open source Python library that anyone can use to optimize their Microsoft Word documents. So, and in machine learning, it is also very adaptable to technology, which makes it a better candidate for a better language for AI tech for Python. Next is scientific computing. Scientists needs programming or programming apps that they can use to store data and analyze data graphs. And with Python, it became very popular because it's free for anyone to use. And programs like NumPy and Skype, I don't know how it says, it makes it easier for computer scientists to do experiments with less code and more easier circumstances uh, that are just better. And Python is also really good at making whatever calculations and multiple software. And many scientists choose to use Python, and is very popular in the scientific world. I'm not gonna go very much into hacking and testing, but Python can also be used by hackers for good and bad intentions. Because there are a lot of Python tools that can be used for penetration testing, while other hand, Python scripting is very easy, and they hackers can make exploits to steal very sensitive data from targets. Alright, guys. Next, we're gonna talk about the two different versions of Python. Python 2 was the first ever version that was created by the original founder in the year 2000. It was originally designed for programming for beginners and said to be made like a lot easier than other programming languages back then, like Java. It had lots of frameworks and libraries, but what's called Python 3 has a lot more with it, which can support both Python 2 and Python 3, I believe. And the updates to Python 2 has been stopped at 2020, so it's very recommended to just use Python 3 so that you can get the newer versions of the updates Python puts out. And uh, in Python 3, it, what's that? It drastically changed from the previous version, and it increased security and also the design flaws that were in Python 2. And in Python 3, there are more ways to change syntax, and that reduces overused code or code that is not needed. Also, there's a lot of code that's been changed between Python 2 and Python 3. Alright guys, so right now I'm in PyCharm, which is an IDE for Python, which I'll show you in a little bit. But here, let me just show you a difference between Python 3 and Python 2. So in Python 3, the print statement is usually print. So print hello world, and then that will print it, I believe. Yes, that'll print it. But back then, it would have been Python and then no braces, hello world, and then that'll print the same thing it printed right here. Because back then they just used a print statement, but right now in Python 2 it's a print function. So they changed it around. Next, it changed in division. Right now, if you do print 5 divided by 2, it'll put 2.5. But back then, if you put print or the same thing, it would have printed 2 because it would have gotten the integer value instead of the decimal point value. So it would have just put 2. Just put back then, right now, and then back then. And the range function, it went from just right now in Python 3 we use just range, min, max. Then that's just what they did. But back then they had a function called rrange, which will essentially do the same thing, but the normal range function that we have now is more efficient and optimized. Alright guys, next we're going to talk about Python IDE. IDE stands for Integrated Development Environment. And there's also another thing called IDLE, which is called Integrated Development and Learning Environment. Most beginners are told to do IDLE, which is basically a learning environment, which is just a beginner version of Python, which doesn't have the resources that IDEs have. IDEs have basic Python resources, but IDLE. But IDE is more encouraged for developers because of its efficiency and its workflow, because it has a lot of more databases, frameworks, libraries, and basically that's it. And IDE is more recommended because of the ability to handle more demanding projects. Because an IDLE is just based on the beginning works of the basics of what you need to do in Python, and it's not a program to handle really large code. And then in the IDLEs, it can access large amounts of libraries and frameworks efficiently without doing no hard work by you. So you wouldn't need to import anything, you wouldn't need to store anything. It'll be right there for you. And in IDE, it provides us with the object-oriented programming, which includes class hierarchy diagrams, in which IDLEs do not include. And it's basically like Java in IDLE, IDE and IDLE. It's just Python, in which you write code in the Python basics. Finally, we're gonna talk about softwares in which you can code Python. What I was just using is called it's an IDE called PyCharm. And PyCharm, there's 2 versions. There's the community version and the professional version. Professional versions is what developers that work for actual jobs like Google use to code Python. And PyCharm, the normal community version, is what I use, the free version, which it gives you normal. It's just the basics you can learn. And the Python IDLE is the one from python.org, in which you can download freely. It's Python 3, version 3, and that's what I originally used. And then I learned about PyCharm, and then PyCharm is more efficient. This is Python IDLE, so you can just put print hello world, and then it'll run. It's not really that complicated. Yeah, it's not that complicated. It's just for beginners to learn. And then what I use for school is Replit. Replit not only has Python, but it has a whole bunch of uh, languages, Java, Kotel, and a lot more. So y'all should really try it out. Thank you for watching my channel, guys, and I hope you have a great one.